So remember, Elijah Muhammad told you to listen to his representative, just like Elijah gave Elisha a double portion of his power. Farrakhan, listen to him as the messenger instructed. Farrakhan has taken the unpopular position of unlike anybody else, while the entire world believes that Elijah Muhammad died at Mercy Hospital February 25th, 1975. Farrakhan even believed he was dead for a while, until he was awakened. He awakened, and he became the first of those that slept. But when he became awakened to this truth, almost like Paul on the road to Damascus, he stated publicly this very unpopular truth, that Elijah Muhammad is physically alive. He stated nationally and publicly, I, Louis Farrakhan, am saying to the world that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is not physically dead. I am further stating that he was made to appear as such, as written in the Bible and in the Holy Quran, in order that the scriptures might be fulfilled.
Yes, sir.
There's a reason Elijah Muhammad told you to listen to this one.
Yes, sir.
That's right.
See, the Quran states explicitly that God's Messiah would be made to appear as though he's dead, but Allah assures us, no, he's not dead. You just don't understand. I mean, these are some cold prophecies coming from an Arabic phrase, shuhiba, which means to resemble death, to be made to look like he's dead. You see? So he has taken the unpopular task. Don't you think if Farrakhan was so concerned about having followers or people, you know, getting with him and supporting him, don't you think or know that it would be much easier to say that Elijah Muhammad died, but he lives through us, he lives through our work? Isn't that much more believable? You know, but here's a man who clearly takes the unpopular position to hold that Elijah Muhammad is physically alive.
That's right. That's right.
Either he is insane, or he knows something.
That's right. There you go. I take that.
Now, isn't that logical too?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
He's either asinine and really insane, has some type of, you know, problem, you know, or he clearly knows something that the rest of the world does not know.
Right. That's
And
right.
I think that a man of his stature, of his international reputation, of his unparalleled accomplishments amidst the world's most powerful opposition, I think his words warrant that we at least hear him out.
That's
Right.
Just out of intelligence. So Farrakhan has publicly told the world about this experience he had September 17th, 1985, while he was in Tepoztlan, Mexico.
Right.
He's talked about this for decades,
Yes, sir.
where he was literally taken aboard one of the smaller wheels to the larger mother wheel, where he heard from and spoke with Elijah Muhammad, who was supposed to be dead, by the way, 10 years after his alleged death. During this encounter, this vision-like experience, Farrakhan has stated publicly and frequently that Elijah Muhammad gave him instructions and information. Some of that information had to do with America's planned war against Muslims and black people, which Minister Farrakhan later realized had something to do with Gaddafi in Libya at that time, but really, ultimately, would do with black Muslims. You see? Reagan was president at that time in '85.
Yep.
So Elijah Muhammad, after giving him from the wheel now these specific words of information and instruction, he tells Farrakhan, now this stuff that I'm telling you, some of it, especially the fact that the president has planned a war with the Joint Chiefs of Staff to plan a war against Islam and black people, I want you to hold a press conference.
Right.
Right.
And in this press conference, I want you to tell the world that you got this information from me, Elijah Muhammad, on the wheel.
That's right.
You talk about somebody sounding crazy.
Yeah.
That's right.
Now, he already sound crazy to talking about Elijah Muhammad alive physically.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
Wheel.
I got to talk about this experience I had on the wheel. Now, be mindful, this is in the 80s, which is still before the internet, still before the mass public was able to see and share information about wheels and the UFOs on photographs and videos. It wasn't shared as easily then. I mean, sightings were still taking place every day, but it was, you know, it was not shared publicly.
Right.
So, Minister Farrakhan, upon receiving this information, he followed the instructions and he held a press conference. And it's interesting, I remember, this took place September 17th, 1985. We about to get ready to close out, y'all. September 17th, 1985. That's interesting. Don't you know, the Bible talks about God's servant, a lot of prophecies now, God's servant being taken up, like this one right here in the book of Ezekiel. And it came to pass in the 6th year, in the 6th month, and the Spirit lifted me up between the earth and the heaven, and brought me in the visions of God to Jerusalem, like this new Jerusalem, to the door of the inner gate. There's a little scripture about God's servant being taken up to this new Jerusalem. Now that's a prophecy. That's the King James Version. Don't you know? Now, when did Minister Farrakhan have his experience?
September 17th,
1985.
1985.
In 1996, there were a group of biblical scholars who came and developed a updated interpretation of the scriptures. You know how in the scriptures it uses this type of language, the 6th year and the 6th day and 5th month, all that time. We don't know what the hell they're talking about. But these scholars took biblical language and asserted it to what month it would have been, what day, and all that type of stuff. So this scripture right here from the King James Version, the New Living Translation scholars, 11 years later in 1996, published their same translation, and they said, then on September 17th, then the Spirit lifted me up into the sky and transported me to Jerusalem in a vision from God.
Wow.
Thank you all for listening. God bless you.
Wow.
This comes after 11 years after the minister's vision. But you know, the minister did what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad told him to. He held a press conference and told the world about his experience. This was an international press conference held October 24th in Washington, D.C., the nation's capital. It was seen live before the nation and the world. And Farrakhan, who was already embroiled in a controversy with the most powerful groups and organizations in America, notably the Jewish stronghold, embroiled in the midst of that controversy, he holds a press conference and he talked about what Elijah Muhammad told him from the wheel. He deals with his experience on the wheel at the expense of sounding insane in an international press conference. He told him, before you will be able to establish your mockery of me, if that is what you wish to do, for what was revealed to me in the wheel, you will see these wheels of what you call UFOs in abundance over the major cities of America. That was October 24th. Don't you know the next day?
Next day, there you go.
Now, you may not be able to hear this, but to make a long story short, the next day, it was all in the news. These wheels were all around in the same area, Washington area.
Right. Regulations of the United States government. You may come against me, which you're free to do, since we have no power to stop you. But I warn you that I am backed by the power of Allah and His Christ, and the power of that wheel in which I received this announcement. And the moment you attempt to lay your hand And before you will be able to establish your mockery of me, if that is what you wish to do, for what was revealed to me in the wheel, you will see these wheels of what you call UFOs in abundance over the major cities of America. And the calamities that America is present.
Beautiful.
This is the next day. They're trying to explain it. And they can't. The minister gave clear warnings. If you want to make mockery of me, you're going to see these wheels over your major cities. So on the newscast, right there in D.C., the nation's capital, the next day, they had sightings and footage of these wheels around, and they ran news segments on it that they could not explain. Then in the following weeks, throughout the country, all these major national newscasts started running it. All this was in a matter of days and weeks after the announcement. But the interesting thing, all you can do is bear him witness.
Yes, sir.
With all of that, you can't do nothing but bear witness to the truth.
Yes, sir.
See, look.
Allahu Akbar.